In today's video, we're going to talk about how to prevent water leaks when repiping your house. Hi, I'm Greg Nelson. I'm a Florida State building contractor. I've been in business for 15 years. I've been in the industry for about 30 years. We're standing here today in one of our job sites in one of our new homes that we're building, and we're going to talk about plumbing systems and how to prevent water leaks. For the different types of pipes, you have copper, CPVC, PVC, PEX, and different grades of PEX. After that, they all have their own systems, their own fittings. This is Uponor, which is a Pro PEX. It's called Pro PEX, otherwise known as PEX A. There's PEX B and other grades. This is the highest grade of PEX you can get. A lot of contractors are elevating to Uponor, PEX in general. Uponor particularly is very, very easy to install as well. The connection points are solid and it's very fast. So that's one of the reasons we like using the Uponor piping. The other thing that's really cool about Uponor, and you can't say this for a lot of other piping systems, it's essentially very, very epic actually. The inner lining of this pipe effectively repels any scaling. And it inhibits scaling, and you cannot say that of any other type of pipe. Copper will last longer, but if anybody's opened up a piece of copper from a house that's over 30 years old, you'll be thinking twice about drinking the water that comes out of it. So for anybody who doesn't know what a pipe fitting is, here's a pipe fitting. This is a 90-degree fitting, and you can see the way it's connected here is you have a piece of pipe coming into this fitting. Now what happens on this, it's very simple without getting too technical. You slip this little piece over here and a tool goes in here, it expands it, and then you have about 4 or 5 seconds and you stick that in there like that, and then it finds it shrinks back onto the fitting. This is a lot better than some other types of connection methods, but we could get into that later. That's more technical stuff. But the bottom line is this is an Uponor fitting and this is a pipe. Now you can see you can bend this quite a ways without needing a fitting. As soon as you get to a certain point, it kinks. Now, one of the things that's also pretty cool about Uponor PEX is that does not actually ruin the pipe. You can take a heat gun, like a paint heat gun, and you can heat this up. It'll get totally clear and it'll go back to just how it is here. And you can reuse the pipe if you end up kinking it by accident. We love Uponor. From point A to point B, from the fixture all the way back to the manifold, there are no joints, no fittings, no connection points, which is the biggest factor in why we're not going to have any leaks in this home. I believe on a couple of the runs, I think like 2 or 3, the turn was too sharp for us to just bend this because it has a point which you can't bend it anymore. And then we had to use a 90-degree elbow fitting is what they're called. To make it a sharp turn, but only in I think in about 2,000 feet of pipe, we've probably got about 3 or 4 fittings in the whole system. And on this project we used a manifold system, which is basically there's a valve for each water line for every fixture in the whole house. So on the cold water side and on the hot water side, let's take for instance a sink, there is a separate hot water line that goes to that side of that sink and a separate cold water line. We labeled all of them. They have number key, and then we labeled them with a P-touch machine to say what they're for. But it's essentially like an electrical panel where you have breakers for every circuit, whereas this we have a shutoff for every single line. So the thing that's really cool about that and the benefits of that is you get a little bit more efficiency. So particularly in the hot water side of things, if you go to have a shower, normally you're waiting for all the hot water to flush through the whole system, all the hot water pipes in your whole house. Yeah, so another very important thing on not having any water leaks is making sure before you hang any sheetrock in the home that you go through and make sure you have nail plates on everything. Nail plates are metal plates specifically made so that a nail or a screw from the drywall hangers or the finished paneling or whatever's put on here does not go through and into a pipe. It'll hit this metal plate and then it'll bend and you'll have to go above it or below it. We use them at the bottom too, wherever we have Here we have a cluster of water lines coming through, and it's very common for a drywall hanger to be going and putting its screws in here along the bottom, and then all of a sudden we'd get a hit in one of these water lines. So, you know, a couple dollars and you got a nail plate on there. Might agitate the drywall guy a little bit, but it's at the end of the day, there's not going to be any leaks. And you can see up here, we've used a nail plate here, even on the drain lines. These should have nail plates. They don't have them yet. I believe the plumber that installed these thought he didn't need them, maybe because the hole is directly in the middle of the 2x4. But my superintendents are going to make sure we have nail plates here anyway, because even though it's directly in the middle of the 2x4 and a drywall screw is only 1.25 inches, it's still very possible for the end of the drywall gun for the clutch to be set wrong, and it could push that screw in too far. So we want to make darn sure no nails ever go in our water pipes. You don't really need to have nails here anyway. If you're hanging drywall per code in most states, you only have to put them every so often per whatever your code is in your state on the vertical studs. You don't need to do anything horizontally. So, but we put nail plates on everything, and that's, you know, we let our plumbers do their thing, and then we say, okay, good, you're done, and then we walk through the whole house and we look at everything. We usually put some orange spray paint wherever we need it so we don't forget, and everything is protected. And we do the same for electrical as well. So you got to make sure that you do a really good pressure test. That's very, very key. You can pressure test with water. You can pressure test with air. You put some gauges on there. Usually your city pressure, depending on where you're at, is going to be 60 to 80 pounds. You want to we try to get it all the way up to about 120, and we let it sit overnight. And we want to make sure that that needle on that gauge hasn't moved one little bit. Because if it does, then you know you got a little pinhole leak somewhere. If air's coming out, water's going to come out. So pressure test whatever you do. Make sure your plumber pressure tests it. Make sure your contractor is getting it pressure tested. There's a lot of ways where city inspectors can miss a pressure test. Like for instance, a plumber can come and he can put pressure on the line, leave at the end of the day, come back the next day, meet the inspector. The inspector's only there for 5 minutes. He doesn't know that he pressurized it the day before. He just sees that it's at 120 pounds and the needle's not moving. Well, that's great. But maybe it was at 122 pounds and now it's at 120. You see what I mean? So it's very important that your GC really checks that your plumber did that, and that your plumber has enough integrity to make sure, like, hey, if the needle moved a little bit, we got to check something, you know? So those are the really important: nail plates, pressure testing your lines, and anything you can do to reduce fittings, which is the primary reason why we like to use PEX. So as you can see, we used Uponor here as our feed line to the water heater and the main manifold. It comes here from the street with high pressure PVC piping, and then we transition to the Uponor. In this closet here for this bedroom, we put a valve. That's this here, and this we can turn the water on or off. All it really does is it gives us control, a little bit more control if there was a leak or something we couldn't handle at the other side. Obviously we have shut-offs on the hot and cold side at the water heater in the mechanical room, and the manifold is individually controls every room as well. But this is, I think it's about 70 feet from here to the actual mechanical room. And in a pinch, we'd be able to run over here and we'd be able to turn this off without having to go all the way out in the street in our skivvies. And here you can see a dedicated line for the pot filler in the kitchen. Here you can see the hot and cold coming to the island from underground. It goes over here to this wall and comes up in there somewheres. And here's the downstairs bathroom. You can see here we have no fittings. Gracefully bends down, goes to a wall-mounted faucet. Dedicated line for the toilet. And the hot and cold for the bathroom shower. As you can tell, there's no shower valve yet.